Hi friends, it's Marie at LivingFelt. Today we are traveling across the pond. This time we're going to fly into Amsterdam, get on a train, and go visit our friend Charity Vandermeer in Gieten, Holland. Some of you already know Charity. She is a much loved teacher in our school, feltingtutorials.com, and if you know her, you know she is well known for her wearables. Charity is a trained fashion designer who found fiber and wool as a medium that she loves to create in. Whether she's creating full-length coats, stage-worthy dresses, or lovely drapes, this gal is so talented, and today we get to visit her working studio where she felts, dyes, and creates her masterpieces. So grab a cup of tea, settle in, and let's go visit Charity.
Hello, welcome to my atelier. It's nice to have you come here. I'm just going to show you around. This is my studio.
Hi Charity, good morning.
Hey Mary, good afternoon, good morning.
Yeah, whatever time it is, right? Thank you so much for letting us join you today and snoop around your studio and just get to see where you work.
Oh yes, you're welcome. It's so nice to just show you around. So glad that you can come and see what I do in this nice place in the middle of nowhere.
It is a beautiful space, and I've gotten to visit with you a few times. It seems almost every time you and I visit via Zoom or whatever that you're in a different spot, and I know there's lots of little special places in your creative space. So we're excited to get in and learn more about the details. But before we do, when you initially set up the studio space, what goals or intentions did you have that you wanted to meet?
There were two things that I wanted. The first thing is I was looking at the lighting in my studio. I had installed quite big windows, both to the front and upstairs, so that I can have a lot of daylight, so I don't feel like I'm really just stuck inside a dark room. So that was one important factor. The second thing was the floor. So the floor it had to be really the tiles so that it's waterproof. I didn't have to worry about the water or anything that would go on the floor. I should be able to clean it when it gets wet. So those were the two important things that I had in mind.
So this is your sunroom just off of your studio.
Yeah, it's in front of the studio. So you can see I'll put a lot of my felt outside. I just make it more like you can just come in there and sit and have coffee or a drink.
It's so lovely. And do you work out there, or that's just kind of where you hang out?
The only thing I do out there is the dyeing. So the dye pots are there, and the plants for the eco printing, they're all outside, but I don't work in there. And I make it so nice that I can just go when I'm really had enough in my studio. I can just go out there and sit.
That's lovely. It looks like a great space to be. Tell us a little bit about storing your wool in these bins.
I started storing the wool in these ones because, at some point you start getting the moth in the studio. And the only way I couldn't think of how I could store my wool. The first thing came up, or maybe I could use the Ziploc bags, but then you have to always open them and then Ziploc them again. And then I came across these, they call them the useful boxes. I'm going to show it again. Because the reason I like it so much is you can just click it and open. but they click so well that nothing goes in as well. And because they are, you can see through them. It's very easy now. I just grab what I need, and they're fantastic. And if you don't have, I've got the bigger ones, they step onto each other very easily. They just fit in. You put one on top of each other, so they're quite useful. So that's how I started, and I've been using them for about 10 years now, and I can tell you, they don't break so easily. They are fantastic. And it has really reduced to having any moths in my studio.
Yeah, those are fantastic. And they're really square, which I like. And tell us, how do you decide how to store your fibers? Do you have them color coordinated, divided by fibers? What's the organization system of them?
Actually, when I started, it was color coordinated. But after 10 years, I haven't checked it yet. So I was talking the other day, this summer, I'll be putting them back into colors again. But the fiber coordinated, that is still the case. I have the wool boxes and I've got the silk boxes. So some of these boxes I've got only some knitting yarn. So if I want to get some knitting yarn, I put it in there. I've got everywhere, more or less, everything that has just really, they are sorted in the fibers and the materials. So I don't have to be searching where is silk fibers, where is the viscose, so they're all sorted. Yeah. The only thing which I could have done better was to actually label them.
Maybe after your reorganization.
I think I was thinking the other day, I'm looking for the silk something, and then I should have just put a label because I could just grab it.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's the only thing that's missing out. Mm-hmm. For the rest, I'm actually quite happy with the way I've done it. And since I can also see through it, I can see what is in each box. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah. Definitely looks very fun to go browsing in those boxes.
This corner here, I keep my silks, and it should be much better organized, but it's okay for the time being. I think I have to find a way to hang them up. So that one, and underneath I have a tray with my equipment is again a messy. It's my summer things I like to do is to do some silk painting, but this is really just like an hobby in the summertime, just to play around with colors. So you can see I have some jugs and everything, some brushes and so on. And then I have the other side, if you can see further up there, it's a place where I keep all the tools for the painting and also the tools for the felting and rolling up. And that's really my wall side of the kitchen. One place where I put all my dyes that has to do with when I want to do some silk painting. It's got all the brushes there. And the sink is always full of stuff, but it has got its own hot water. So I've got two sinks there, and one is hot water, so it's very handy. And so it's just one area where I put everything that I need for dyeing.
And so you're dyeing fibers, you're dyeing silks, you're dyeing regular cotton fabrics as well?
No, I really don't dye the cotton. I just do the silk and the wool because I find the cotton too complicated. It's tipped for me as well. Buy something and put it there, and I think one day I'll have time to try it.
That's very much like me. My good intentions piles. Now, Charity, your studio is set up. You have 2 large tables, and you're set up to teach usually one other person at a time. Is that right? Like doing your big dresses or coats or something.
Yes. Yeah. Because of having only 2 large tables, I can't really have more than 2 people to do the coats or the dresses. It's just not fair because otherwise they have to share a table. Mm-hmm. And it does work amazingly because the table is just large enough for anything that's what you want to make. So it's set up only for 2. Mm-hmm. What I like normally, because I'm actually, you may know that I'm always messy, and I like to have a lot of things on the table. So I have these tables, they're so huge. So when I'm going to set up, I get all my materials on the table put them on the place where I can just grab them until when I have to flip my work, and then I'll move them away into on my next table and then flip it and then bring them back. So my tables are quite big, and for that I really like it, or I love them. They just give me these possibilities to be able to put things on it and then to be able to work without worrying about how am I going to turn my piece when I'm ready. And like I mentioned earlier, the tables are all standing just barely on the floor, near the floor, so the water can just drip down. I do use a lot of towels around it, but mostly not for protecting the floor. And the last thing I have near my table where I'm working is a soft mat. I have a soft mat where I stand just to have, because I can stand sometimes almost the whole day and just breaking off a coffee after lunch. So I have prepared something really soft on the floor, so when I'm standing on it, I don't feel the pressure on my knees and my ankles.
Oh, that's really smart. Yeah, especially as much as how much time it takes for you to felt one of your dresses or one of your coats. Your tables are about 4 feet by 8 feet. Is that right? They're really large.
They're big.
They're big. Do you store things under them?
Yes, I do. I always have too many things in my studio, so there's always a lot of stuff. And it was also created in mind that I would create a table where I can put just a lot of things underneath. So I do. I use the underneath of my huge tables as my storage place. And again, you see, I'm very fond of the useful boxes. So I've filled them up with the Dupont dyes and the spray pumps, because it's also nice to play around with spraying your silk when I do some dyeing. Yeah. On the other one where I felt a lot, I have the rolling pins and all my plastics that I'm going to use to put in between. And I also use the anti-slip mats underneath. I store them under there. So one has got only the liquid dyes, and the other one has got all my felting equipment, which is like ball browsers, little rolling pins, and little sushi mats. And yeah.
That's smart. That's just good use of space under there. Charity, tell us a little bit about your setup for steaming, whether you said you're silk painting and you like to steam, or you're doing your eco printing and like you steam.
What I do is I'll make, if I'm doing the silk painting and I'm going to steam it, then I'll just use my big tables. I'll paint the silk, and then in fact, I'll start with the plastic underneath and then paint the silk, roll it up nice and tight, and then put it in the steamer. So then the steamer would have to steam on 90 for about an hour and a half. So this is my steamer. It has got a roster inside where you put a bundle of either the eco print or the bundle of painted silk. I just roll it up there and I let it steam.
And so you like to do that outside in the garden?
No, outside in my glass house.
And so why do you choose to use it in the glass house instead of in the studio?
I actually don't like the smell of the dyes. In the wintertime, I do it in here, but I just really don't like the smell.
I see.
You know, the smell the dyes can smell, and that's the only reason I don't like it. Otherwise, I have to keep my door open, and so I just put it outside. Easier. Mm-hmm. Then I can put it in there, and I can walk there and smell it. It's less smell than when it's just inside here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's really smart. So it's important to think of those things.
I have a dryer in my studio as well. I don't use it as much, but I use it to dry my towels. And next to that, I have my spinners, which I can't really do without. They are really amazing. So it's one of the equipments I like to use a lot. And up here on the staircase, you can see, I've used the staircase to store my books. It's easy for me to just put them there and grab them when I want to look. So you can see that it's the staircase that leads you upstairs to my storage. And next to it, you can see my passports, or let's say the dress forms, which I really can't do without.
That's a fantastic bookcase to use the stairs. Do you ever accidentally kick any off?
No, it's just because I know how it is. So it's very easy to pick up a book whenever I want to look into something, or I'm drinking coffee, I just grab something from my staircase.
Super sweet.
So here you see that's an overview of my felted lamps, a lot of pictures, the things that I make, I hang them up, the dresses that I did in the past, and I took some pictures and just hang them up as well. So this is just my little home. I love it to be in my studio. You can see a lot of things, and on this messy table I put all kinds of things here. And here is my other table with the coffee and the flowers. These are the pieces of the, sometimes I do like to make wall hanging or flowers, felting. And yeah, and then when it's getting really gray in my studio, I love to have this yellow or white flower hanging up or put on the table. And the light is what I'm using at the moment. It gives me enough lighting when I want to take pictures of my work, of what I'm felting. So it's one of the important parts of my studio is the lighting. So in the wintertime in Holland, really it gets so dark that to take any picture, you need to have artificial light around. And
Right.
these wall hangers have been there for quite some time, but I just love to see them. Yeah.
Right. And these are your dresses, but you call them wall hangings. You like to put them up like
Yeah.
art display.
I like to do that. They are dresses, actually wearable. Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you put out some of your art just to brighten the space or add a little bit of ambiance while you're in there. I think that's fantastic.
It also just helps when people come to visit they just have something to look at. Otherwise, it can be just messy with all my wool and everything around me. I've got some echo printing sometimes, and then when I echo print on something, I just hang them up.
I think I could get lost in your studio. Really beautiful.
Yeah.
Charity, when you're working in your studio, do you play music or do you listen to anything while you're working and creating?
I actually do love to listen to the Zambian or African music because it just makes me dance, especially when I have to row. Once in a while, I try to listen to the podcast, but I find I have to concentrate on them talking. So I decided to just not to listen to them and just listen to the music because then I get more creative with my creativity. So I do listen.
That's awesome.
Sometimes I'm really getting stuck with my, especially when it comes to embellishment, then sometimes I just get stuck. I don't know what to put on. I'll just start dancing. I just put on the nice music and dance for maybe 5-10 minutes or 5 minutes usually. And then I'll be like, oh, okay, now I know what to do. That's another thing I use when I want to be creative.
Man, I love that. That's so good.
This is where I walk around. It's just really behind my house.
And you like to do that frequently, don't you? Get out and walk.
Yes, almost. Even this morning I went walking in the mud. It's really, it's something that you just gives you a clarity or something. So you feel really more refreshed, and yeah, I like to do that every day if I can.
That's
Sometimes
fantastic.
even in the rain, I just dress up, go out, even for just half an hour, but at least minimum I do should be an hour.
That's
Then
fantastic.
I'm okay. Yeah.
And you're out there just brightening that wintry landscape in your lovely colors.
Yeah. If you saw that day when I was walking, it just finished raining and a lot of water and light. It helped me really to come and start felting because I was going to felt something that's transparent and light and everything. So then I was like, oh, okay, I think I've got some light. I should be able to do this. So for inspiration, going outside, you don't even know where it comes from. You just, maybe by touching one of the leaves or something, you just get it. So that's why I love to walk I'm so glad to leave my house. Behind my house, there's some woods where I can walk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. There's something about being out in nature that grounds you, centers you, and also sort of opens your creative channel. It's like clears the mind of all the noise. Yeah.
Yeah. My village is Gieten, but biggest city is Groningen.
And how far away is that from your house?
20 minutes drive.
20 minutes
So it's
drive.
about, yeah.
So if we were
It's,
going to go into Gieten, which is your town, right? Is that how you say
yeah,
it?
okay.
Gieten.
Yeah, Gieten.
What would we see if we were walking around with you?
Well, we have the forest, and if you just walk about maybe 5 to 10 minutes, you find some fields with the sheep because there's a lot of the Drenthe Heideschap here. And after that, you see a lot of the heather. It's a one place where you have a lot of heather, the flower. So, like in springtime, it will be starting to be really purple. It's beautiful. Yeah. And a lot of little lakes, small little lakes. They're not big lakes, but just small waters everywhere.
Lovely. And what about the town itself?
The town itself is 10 minutes or less walk from my house, but it's very small. There's a bakery, you can have coffee. Really, only one bakery where you can have coffee. For the rest, the village itself, there's not so much. We have a supermarket, 2 of them. There's a nice clothes shop where I can buy some clothes once in a while, but usually not. I go to Groningen, like I said, it's a bigger city. It's more historical and a lot more happening there.
Sweet. So if we were going to visit, would we fly into Amsterdam or how would we get to you?
You will fly into Amsterdam and then the train will bring you to Groningen or to Assen, and then I'll pick you up.
That sounds fantastic. If you could choose a couple of maybe fibers or things that you really like if you were here at LF and picking some things out for somebody, what would you choose?
I like your rainbow colors. I think the mixtures, the ones they blend.
Like decadence
Yeah, the
blends?
color fascinating.
these-
Yeah, those ones. Quite nice. That's what I liked a lot.
Fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So some decadence blends. That's what we'll give away as prizes. Charity, thank you so much for letting us visit with you today and hang out in your beautiful space.
And thank you for coming. It was nice to have you around and to show you my studio.
Well, it's been a lovely visit. We look forward to having you back here. But until next time, thank you, Charity.
Yeah. Bye.
I hope today's visit has been inspiring for you and your creative space in some way. I know every studio I visit gives me ideas for my own, and we can't wait to see how you change up your working space as well. If you would like more fiber studio inspiration, check out this video right here.